think at the end of the day, like everyone who talks, I don't think it's Max's fault.
No, yeah.
I think under the circumstances, I think under circumstances, Max did and Red Bull did what the best they could do. They took advantage of the VSC, they took advantage of the safety car, and they won it in the end based on the cars they were dealt. Now I think the issue is different in terms of, I think if the International Court of Appeals, like, or whatever, or the higher one, if they come to a conclusion, my guess is they're not gonna take it from Verstappen. I don't see them doing that because it's not his fault.
Yeah.
It's not Red Bull's fault.
No.
I think. But
it also isn't Mercedes' fault. That's the weird part.
Exactly. So I think it would to kind of give back to Mercedes, like to balance kind of the odds. Like essentially be dumped on the FIA, on the stewards and race.
I see that. Yeah. No, that's a very good point. Yeah.
I see him getting fired essentially.
Yeah, you'd say they'd probably punish the FIA, but they wouldn't want to overturn the decision because it's unfair on everyone. So here's the next point. F1's now in a lose-lose situation. If Mercedes go through with this, even if they don't go through with this, the amount of publicity on this controversy now, and pretty much everyone knowing it's a clear breach of regulations, whether you like it or not, obviously it's in some people's favour, it isn't in other people's. The point is, if Mercedes go through with it now, or whether they don't go through with it, the end of the race was filled with controversy. F1 fans are now arguing about this issue and what's going on. We're all saying, Max fans or Lewis fans, we're all saying Masi out. No one wants him in. He's a joke completely. The two outcomes now are either the decision isn't overruled, Max gets his championship, but everyone knows deep down, realistically, that it was gifted to him by Michael Masi. Through no fault of his own, and he's a deserved winner. Well played to him. He did very well this year. He's a great championship. But on the final race, he was beaten by Lewis, and he was gifted it through finessing the rules clearly in a disgusting display by Michael Masi. So it's very unfortunate for Max, and I do feel bad for him. The other decision then is it gets overruled. Max Verstappen goes on celebrating his championship for a few more, however long, and then gets the trophy taken off him afterwards. Lewis wins his 8th world title, and the Michael Schumacher record is broken. But it's broken months afterwards in court. Like either way, it's just awful. Like no one.
That's what I'm saying. They won't do this and they won't do this. They'll just put the blame all on the stewards and the FIA. I think they actually need to sit down and like rewrite the rules.
Here's the thing.
No, rewrite the rules. Not the rules, but in terms of like the race director does not have overarching power. He has to follow procedure, especially when it comes
think that's already there, but if it's
like,
argued, then
they need to remove that, or they need to make that clause clear that he can't have overarching authority like that. If you say the stewards have overarching authority, I'd say okay because there's 3 of them, so it balance it out. But if you say him, well, he is biased. Like every person is biased. That's the bias. Everything. If it's 3 people there, they're not all going to be 3 biased. Like relatively, it balances out. I think over the course of the season, to be honest, if you look at all the kind of decisions, I think it balances out. Like in terms of like, he got this for him, he got this for him and stuff. Obviously, some decisions were much bigger than others. Yeah. But then at the end, I think it balances out. I'm sad to see it end this way.
Yeah, definitely. That's the main thing.
That's what kind of
any fan of the sport is disappointed.
Every fan, like I was watching the WTF one, like post race, like they did a podcast straight after, and they did one the next day. But I was watching that one, and they were like, even
Tommy, the Max Verstappen fan.
He's a Max Verstappen fan. And he's like, I'm sad to see it end this way. In terms of like, he said that I think Max deserves to win the championship. I think that's true. I think everyone thinks Max deserves to win it, but the way Lewis lost it, you can't not feel for him. Like,
and if he won it afterwards, you would say fair enough. He did an incredible end to the season. Exactly. He outdrove him today or Sunday, whenever it was. He did all of this, whatever. He won the championship. Great fight from Max. He did incredible. It was, if rules were followed, there would be an argument there where you'd say, all these rules are broken. Max Verstappen probably the best title, because right now the argument is the best title contention to finish second is Lewis with like 10 wins, a bunch of podiums, all of this, blah, 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 this many points. He did the best performance to finish second. Max would easily take that place if he lost on Sunday, but he didn't. either way, people are going to be annoyed. But the fact the rules weren't followed is ridiculous. Like, it's stupid.
But then the rules weren't followed from, like, the beginning of the season. Like, the first race, I think it was, like, first race they deleted some laps because, you know, track limits and stuff.
Yeah.
And then they did the whole thing with Max giving back the position, which I get then because it was, like, he overtook outside. But from there, I think Bahrain was fine. I think after Bahrain, it was just bad, bro. Like, you got races where it's just like, you're sitting there, you're like, at every single race, you're just sitting there, like, what have they done? Like, honestly, what have you guys done? Like, you've done.
It's all, like, I'm pretty sure.
I think they set a bad precedent at the beginning. And
Definitely.
then they felt like, Michael Masi has felt like he has had to kind of give some to this, and then, oh, I have to give some to this, and this. And he just, like, that's the thing you should, this is how it is.
Yeah, because if you set a bad precedent at the start, you're
Then
now
you
either
just
following
ruin
that
the-
bad precedent the whole way, or you're overruling a decision and then drivers go,
But that's the
"What
thing,
is
if he does a mistake and he just sticks to it for the whole season, like, you can overtake this way, you can do it the whole season. But when you do it sometimes and sometimes not, that's the worst thing. Because, like, in some races, nah, it's okay. In some other races,
You don't even, the worst part is you don't even admit guilt and then go back.
Exactly.
You just change the rules whenever you want, which is honestly horrific.
That's
And for the
why-
pinnacle of motorsport and what's trying to be the biggest
It's
sport in the world,
dumb, bro.
it's awful. Because it has potential to not become the biggest sport in the world. But motorsport is a corner that's very much held by F1. Like, you know, in football it's the biggest sport in the world, but, you know, they got leagues and all of this. Well, Formula 1 is a world championship. It should appeal to pretty much everyone. And it's just,
You know,
it's embarrassing.
Every new person I've met who's, like, watched Formula 1 for the first season, they've said that I've never felt as excited as I felt in that last part of the race. Those last few laps. No one, like, that's what Formula 1 can do. It's that level of excitement. You don't feel it at any other sport. And I feel like they're ruining it for new fans. And they're ruining it, new fans might not care as much.
True.
But actually they care about. Like, I think they're ruining more also for, like, the older fans more. Definitely. Because we know the rules, we know what's happening, and we kind of understand it a bit more. Like, I was explaining out to my friend, like, this happened, and kind of the consequences of everything. I think once he got it, he was like, obviously he's a Max Verstappen fan, so he's happy. But once he got it, he was like, okay, no, like, this is not done. Like, this is not good, you know.
For everyone else, you see the message flash, 5 lapped cars. These 5 lapped cars are allowed to unlap themselves, and then the safety car comes in instantly. As much as there's excitement, we're like, what is this? I've never seen this before in my life. Obviously, the new fans are like, oh, no way, this is incredible. Like, we're going racing, and they're going to decide who wins the championship. And Crofty starts screaming, and everyone's screaming, and it's great. But then you tell them, oh, yeah, you know how he like, crossed the line and finished first, and they gave him the trophy and stuff? Yeah, that might not actually happen. Now they're going to court about it.
Exactly.
And then you have to explain all of this, and it's awful. Like, it's just, it's so tough. It's so tough.
But I'd say the nice thing about the race was when Alex Albon jumped on the radio and was screaming, Max!
That was nice.
Yo, that was actually nice. So wholesome. Like, as in, like, Albon was so high, like, you can see he's psyched for Max.
Yeah.
That was actually, like, it's not like, I say my favorite is, like, Doobie's fan, like, that is just.
Oh yeah.
That is just.
I clicked that last
like,
time. I couldn't find the fastest lap one.
It's like I think that's like the best kind of one-liner in sport ever.
Really?
Ever. Like, one-liner in sport is just like, when someone asks, that's the first thing that comes to mind.
It's up there, yeah.
I think this one's good. It's just, that one is just, like, incredible.
No, yeah, because Crofty's going for the champion of the world thing. It's kind of, it's a bit standard now. He does it every year.
Exactly, yeah, it's boring.
Yeah, I mean, it was off the radio as well.
Exactly, yeah, that's why it was so good. And then he's crying, and it's so nice. But,
right.
Yeah.